Hello and welcome to this webinar, Parent and Carer Wellbeing for Child Wellbeing. Okay, I'm looking forward to sharing some principles and tips with you about parent-carer wellbeing for child wellbeing. My name is Jolene Ironside and I'm a mental health trainer for the YMCA. And during this webinar, I'll share some information about the link between adult wellbeing and child wellbeing. And then we're going to add in some tips in what you can do. Please feel this is a recorded webinar. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to email us. Okay. I hope you enjoy. So I'm going to carry out some housekeeping first of all. So as I say, this is a recorded webinar, so questions, all questions are valid. Please email us if you need to ask us anything. Some ideas that we speak about in this webinar may be more or less suitable for neuroatypical children. But you're all experts of your child, so you know what they need. So please do modify any of the suggestions to suit yourself and your child. Please look after yourself in this webinar. If you want to move away, then please do so. Grab yourself a drink, just pause. So the strangeness, a little bit about COVID-19 and wellbeing. So the strangeness of recent times has been different for everyone. And I think we're still feeling the effects of that. So whilst we've all been navigating the same storm, the boats, companions and resources have been different for all of us. So look after yourself, take a break, stretch, make yourself a drink. Okay. So let's have an overview. I'd like you to leave this session with a sense of the following. Why does adult well-being matter in the home? How does adult well-being impact on the children around us? What does well-being look like? And some tips and strategies to help boost our own well-being. So there's no one way, there's no right or wrong. Struggling with well-being or having a mental illness or low well-being doesn't mean you're a bad parent. It means that there'll be some things that are harder for you and some areas where you may need more or different help. It will give your child a different experience that brings its own benefits, not only to you, but to them and to the home. So let's have a look at why does adult well-being matter in the home? Children live with us. We are our children's world, so how we think and feel about them shapes them as they grow. We are their base, the place they grow and explore from. So our well-being impacts in several ways. The environment we create for our children, our interactions with them, and how we manage their challenges. So the role of important adults is to create safety and enabling learning and development. So if children feel safe, they can invest more in growing mentally and physically. And this sense of safety comes from the adults around them, their ability to respond to their child's needs. And we can share this role. That can be co-parenting, share it with grandparents, friends, family, whoever we've got around us. So children learn and develop when they feel safe. And adults model behaviour, both helpful and unhelpful. So we've all experienced situations where one individual influences the mood of the room, often unconsciously, and in a way that they're unaware of. So uncertainty and low well-being can impact everyone in the house. So we may think it's just us that's feeling it, but actually everybody can feel it. The more stressed you feel, the less you have to give in regards of empathy. So the role of stress, social, is contagious. We can't hide it. Even if we think we are, you can feel it, and our children can feel it. So good levels of well-being reduces parental stress and illness. Because children are attuned to adults, it helps the children too. And we'll explain more about that as we go on. It's important to state here that this doesn't mean that we always need to have high well-being to be a good parent. Understanding our well-being means that we can plan how to help our children manage this. So who can help us? It can help them understand and not be negatively impacted by it. And they can reach out and get help as well. They see you getting help, they're likely to as well. So let's have a look at the impact of low well-being. The more stressed you feel, the less you have to give in regards to empathy, patience, and energy. It's hard to pour from an empty jug. The children are attuned to adults. Impact of low well-being. There's an increase in the likelihood of illness. There's an increased absence, both physically and emotionally. So the increased absence results in increased disruption. You're not being available, so children feel less safe. And by absence, what we mean is being in bed, preoccupied, seeking distraction, for example, social media, or simply distracted and focused on other things. So, in fact, many parents will be managing the stress of parenting with unhealthy strategies such as excessive smoking, alcohol consumption, shouting, withdrawing, overspending, or emotional eating. So avoidance behaviours, alcohol, overspending, media. And that also results in low motivation, and you're stuck. We've got a vicious circle going on there. So why is it important? Safe and supportive physical, chemical, and built environments, sound and appropriate nutrition, a stable and responsive environment of relationships. Harvard Center for Child Development have illustrated that to be able to provide a safe and responsive environment, we need to be able to be present. So a stable and responsive environment of relationships helps them develop resilience, their ability to bounce back. These provide young children with consistent, nurturing, and protective interactions with adults, which help them. It helps them develop adaptive capacities that promote learning and well-regulated stress response systems. Let's have a think about how we impact on our children. So our words and our tone of voice, our facial expressions. Children are continuously absorbing information through all their senses. This is a whole body process, not a simple brain process. Most of this process subconsciously, most of this is processed subconsciously by their autonomic nervous system, which some, hopefully, is processed consciously, like learning. So this means that they're picking up much more information than we as adults might be aware of. So they're using their 5 senses all the time. So they're hearing, their sight, taste, touch, and smell. One way that our brains, they're picking up much more information than we might be aware of. So it's including information about our emotional and our physiological state. So one way that our brains do this is via mirror neurons. So I'm going to play a little slide by Dan Siegel, talking about mirror neurons.
But when you look at the details of how these neurons, the system of mirror neurons, how it works, then the exciting discoveries unfold. So if I were studying your mirror neurons, what would happen is if I did an action that was just totally random, your mirror neurons would not fire. If I did an action which had kind of repetition to it even, you may not be able to figure out what I was intending to do after just one or two repetitions. But if I were to take an object that would signify to you what I was trying to do, like this bottle of water, just notice what your feeling is. So you may have noticed that the feeling was very different when I had a bottle in my hand versus when I was just moving my hand in a similar way. What that tells us is that when you know the intention behind an action, a different system in your brain is activated. We now know that that system involves the mirror neurons and other areas of the brain, so that what you do is you follow a sequence of action. And when you can predict that sequence, you can determine what the implication of that sequence is. So when I have a bottle in my hand, you know I will continue to drink like this, not toss it at you, for example. That ability to understand the sensory implications, that is what you're going to see, of the motor actions that you're perceiving, allows you to create a map in the mind, if you will, that's correlated with neural firing patterns in this mirror neurons superior temporal area complex that creates a neural representation, a neural map of my intention in your head. In other words, beyond just seeing behavior, we see the intention beneath the behavior from the very beginning. Now, that's how we create the human capacity to imitate behavior.
Okay, so Dan Siegel, he's a clinical professor of psychiatry at the UCLA School of Medicine, and he's the executive director of the MindSight Institute. So he's explaining here that children pick up on what we are thinking and feeling, and vice versa, and how we feel influences how they feel. So, as we said, mirror neurons mean that children may feel some of what we are feeling too, both emotionally and physically. Children will also be absorbing what they hear us say and do, and they will be learning how to manage in the world from us as parents or carers. So what children need? So PACE is play, acceptance, curiosity and empathy. It was developed by Dan Hughes, an eminent psychologist from the US, and he advocates adopting a new attitude to difficult children, and he calls it PACE. And it's a really useful attitude to take with all children. So the P stands for playfulness, and it's about encouraging children to play with you and other children at every opportunity, to understand laughter, fun, and the rules. It's not just about playing games, it's about having a playful attitude. And sometimes approaching a child playfully can sometimes diffuse a difficult situation. It's definitely worth a try. Acceptance. It's accepting, to try and accept them for whatever their level of achievement and whatever their behaviour. If you think they are too bad for you to handle, it will confirm all the terrible self-loathing that they may have about themselves. So even if you want to scream at them in rage and disappointment, try to focus on the behaviour. That makes it clear that you still like and accept the person underneath the behaviour. Curiosity, be curious about them. What are they interested in? What's important to them? They'll begin to realise that you are interested in them and begin to think that they are worth knowing. Empathy. They need your understanding and insight into what life is like for them, partnered with firm, caring, consistent, and fair boundaries. Empathy will create a strong connection between you. So if you get them, you understand them, they're more likely to respond to you when the going gets tough. Well-being helps us to be able to do these things. So well-being and mental health. What does well-being mean to you? Mental health is not just the absence of a mental disorder. It is defined as a state of well-being in which every individual realizes his or her own potential. They can cope with the normal stresses of life. They can work productively and fruitfully and are able to make a contribution to his or her community. So that's the World Health Organization definition of what mental health and well-being is. It can exist in times of joy, pain, loss, and illness. And it's a continuum that changes over time, be it over an hour, a day, or years. So well-being and mental health are different and they're interrelated. It's a person's emotional state at any given moment in time. So you can be mentally healthy and have low well-being. You can have a mental illness and have high well-being. To be able to give children what they need, we need to feel okay. That includes all aspects of our lives and is not defined by the absence of struggle or adversity. So a complicated combination that is unique for each individual varies between cultures. You can have a mental and physical illness and still have well-being. In fact, overcoming adversity can increase your well-being. So we can broadly categorize states of well-being into physical, psychological, and social categories. All three influence each other and affect every part of our lives, within ourselves, in our relationships, with family, friends, co-workers, and the larger world. The well-being is more than just physical health. It involves your emotional, social, and mental health too. So it's the overall satisfaction you feel about yourself and your life, which can go up and down depending on what's happening in your life. So well-being. The great thing about well-being is that it's something we can influence for ourselves. It exists independently of external situations. Our well-being influences all of the above: quality of life, family relationships, social relationships, day-to-day things, hormones, physical health, mental health, sleep, and so on. So we've got the image there. What are the words for well-being? Welfare, well-being, eudaimonia, health, prosperity, upbeat, contentment, wealth, eudaimonia again, and fitness. So well-being is more than just physical health. It involves emotional, social, and mental health too. So as I said, it's the overall satisfaction you feel about your life, what's going on. So good well-being can include feeling able to cope with daily stresses, having a sense of purpose and generally enjoying life, feeling able to manage negative emotions, feeling connected to your community, having supportive relationships, and being able to do and enjoy the things that are important to you. Stress taps are our well-being. So we're going to watch this video here, how stress affects your body and mind. So in a nutshell, it taps our well-being.
Our stress tolerance, or the size of our bucket, is a product of our genes, personality, and life experiences, and its size varies from person to person. The water in this analogy is the combination of all the stress in your life. We use the coping strategies we have available to keep our bucket from overflowing. They are like taps that allow water to drain from the bucket. Stress can include training, work, school, relationships, finances, moving, changing jobs, or the loss of a loved one. Both positive and negative experiences will affect the water level. A big bucket can hold more water or stress before it overflows. With a smaller bucket, less water is required for the water or stress level to become critical. While you can't change the size of your bucket, you can make life adjustments to reduce water coming in. You can also learn new coping strategies and stress management techniques to allow water to drain out. Mind tools, exercise, quality sleep, relaxation, and sharing your feelings with friends are some examples of effective water taps. Staying up late, sleeping in, drugs, inactivity, procrastination, suppressing or ignoring problems are examples of unhelpful coping strategies or false taps. They might give temporary relief, but actually result in water flowing back into your bucket.
So well-being equals balance. So we've got, sorry, the camera back on, sorry. We've got our resources on one side, so psychological resources, social and physical. And then we've got our challenges, psychological, social and physical on the other side, and a well-being in the middle to balance them both. So it's not about feeling happy all the time, lying on a beach, or the feeling you have when you're on holiday. It's about balance. Mental well-being doesn't have one set meaning. We might use it to talk about how we feel we're coping with daily life, or what feels possible at the moment. So good mental well-being doesn't mean that you're happy or unaffected by your experiences. But low mental well-being can make it more difficult to cope with daily life. So why is it hard to prioritize our well-being? So here's some of the things, some ideas that we came up with. I don't have time. I don't know how to prioritize or plan. I don't know what well-being is. I don't want to. It's too hard. It feels selfish. It isn't worth the effort. I can't say no to others. I have to do everything, or if I stop, I will drop everything and no one else will do it. Have a look at those and see if you recognize any of these. You can pause the video if you want to. So why is it hard to look after ourselves? Okay, so we know well-being is really important. We also know that our well-being is intrinsically linked to how we feel about ourselves and our situation. So understanding what we are feeling and why strongly influences our ability. So sorry, understanding what we are feeling and why strongly influences our ability to think about or act to take care of our own well-being. So I'm just going to come in a different order. Okay, so number one, being emotional is a sign of vulnerability. And what's your belief? Is vulnerability a weakness? Number two, don't ask, don't tell. You can feel emotion all you want, but there's nothing to be gained by sharing it with others. So remember, we're looking here at why it's hard to look after ourselves. Number three, we don't have access to emotional language or full emotional vocabulary, so we stay quiet or we make fun of it. Number four, discussing emotion is frivolous, self-indulgent, and a waste of time. It's not for people like us. We're so numb to feeling that there's nothing to discuss. Uncertainty is too uncomfortable. So engaging and asking questions invites trouble. I learned something I don't want to or shouldn't know about. So Brené Brown has done a lot of research that revealed that a lot of how much or how little we value emotion comes from what we were taught or what we saw as we were growing up. She identified 7 key family beliefs around emotion that diminish the value of embracing emotions and can become a barrier to listening to ourselves. So recognizing these can help us evaluate when they are helpful or unhelpful. For example, in the middle of a crisis, it may be helpful to just get on with it and not stop and think about your feelings, like you've just got to power through. However, if this becomes a lasting mode of being, it results in burnout and stress because we haven't given time to listen to what our body or mind needs. So have a think about if any of these resonate with you. All our emotions have a physical basis, and we will now have a little look at how we see stress, motivation, and relaxation in our bodies. So far, we've looked at well-being as the balance of challenges and resources in our lives. When we build it, we're better able to be present with our children in ways that are playful, accepting, curious, and empathic. So now we're going to have a look at the physiology of well-being and how to build it. So well-being equals psychological balance as well as physical between drive systems. So we're going to do a whistle-stop tour. Paul Gilbert's evolutionary model proposes that humans switch between 3 different systems to manage their emotions. When they are out of balance and distress can result both psychologically and physically. So each system is associated with different brain chemistry and different brain regions. The drive system motivates us. It helps us be goal-focused and get food, find shelter, and so on. However, nowadays, it can motivate us to seek pleasure. Scroll social media, drink, gamble, shop, and other behaviours that can aggravate stress or decrease well-being over time. So it's linked to dopamine. So next we'll look at the threat system. So the threat system was essential for survival, to keep us alive. And whilst we need it nowadays so that to avoid cars, so that we don't step out on the road, Many of the threats we respond to are not life-threatening. However, our brain doesn't know that, nor does it know that the threat is external or internal. So people's opinions, reactions, criticisms, our own reactions and self-talk can all activate our threat system. And then this increases cortisol and adrenaline in the body. So the negative impact of these two systems is mediated by the soothing system, a third system. This is where we feel safe, either in ourselves or because we're with others who create safety for us, and it produces oxytocin, which is the happy bonding chemical. So this can be activated by the external world and our internal selves. Our self-talk, we will talk about self-kindness in a while. Self-talk is really important. All of these systems relate to both thinking and our biology and physiology. This means that we can influence them by altering the way we think or our physiology, biology. So we can learn to activate our soothing system and use it to decrease cortisol and adrenaline in the body and increase the good feelings. So it helps us manage our well-being. I think it's a really good model to look at, those three systems and how they relate. So the NHS have created something called the 5 Ways to Wellbeing. It was researched and developed by a New Economics Foundation for the Department of Health and Social Care. Are 5 simple things we can implement in our daily lives to improve our mental and physical well-being. So we're now going to have a look at these and how we can help ourselves, how we can improve our own well-being, knowing that this will improve and help our children. Big changes with long-term benefits. So diet and exercise, your lifestyle, your job, they're big changes, but they have long-term benefits. And then small in-the-moment actions, these build up and incrementally improve well-being. They reduce immediate problems, developing and become easier with practice. So simple, achievable, practical, and functional. So we've got connect, take notice, give, be active, and keep learning. So let's have a look at giving. We're going to have a look at give first. So this video looks at the importance of giving to others and how we can include our children in this. Let's have a watch of the video.
Sometimes it's easy to feel like the world's getting harder. But if we look closer, on the news, on the web, on the street, we're anything but unkind. Every day, we hear new stories of people trying to make the world a better place. And together, we can make the world that little bit kinder for all of us. It all starts with just one person, you. The thing about kindness is that it's just about the only thing in the world that doubles when you share it. And it's a fact, backed by science. Studies have shown that if you perform just one random act of kindness a day, you'll not only reduce your stress, anxiety, and depression, but your body is flooded with the same hormones that make you and the person you've helped calmer, healthier, and happier. Serotonin, which heals your wounds, helps you relax and makes you feel good. Endorphins, which reduce pain, and oxytocin, which reduces blood pressure and makes you feel more loving and loved. You'll both be more energized, feel less aches and pains, more confident, and could even live longer. And if other people see you helping someone else, they'll be filled with those same feel-good hormones, meaning they're significantly more likely to pay it forward. Like taking that extra moment to hold the elevator for someone. It's spotting a coffee for a stranger who's just a few cents short, giving your neighbor a hand with their groceries, even just smiling and meaning it. It doesn't take much, but it can make a huge difference for everyone. Those people you've helped will help other people, and those other people will help even more people. And those random acts of kindness can start a chain reaction that can spread across an entire community, a city, a country, and with enough of us, the world. Now, isn't that the world we all want? And it all starts with one.
So we want to extend it here by giving to ourselves as well. So becoming our own best friend, doing random acts of kindness to ourselves. This next video is going to explore that in a little more detail.
Sometimes.
And this is the power of self-compassion.
Do you have a critical voice? And if so, what do you find it saying to you?
I definitely have a critical voice. I think everybody does. And I think they all start from when you're a kid. So, I think all the things that my parents said, I hear, but it's normally about not doing a good job.
It's constantly stopping me as I try to complete thoughts or try to make steps forward.
It's a voice that always tells me that I'm not enough, or that I need to do better, or that there's something about me that I have to change.
When you fail or make a mistake, what types of things run through your mind?
I'm not worthy. Everybody's going to see my mistake. Nobody else makes mistakes like I do.
You're stupid. I can't believe you forgot something easy. This was basic. Why are you having so much trouble doing something so simple?
People don't want me around, that I'm uninteresting, boring, and or just too weird for people's company.
It says that I should have done better, and sometimes it says mean words about myself.
It's probably the loudest thing that's usually coming through my head before anything else is at least ringing that failure over and over again.
And let me give you a scenario where a friend of yours comes to you and has made a mistake. And what would you say to that friend?
Well, the first thing I would tell them that it's okay. You don't need to feel all the weight of this. Most likely you're holding on to this more tightly than anybody else.
This in no way, reflects your character or reflects your ability to do something. Definitely a lot kinder to my friends than I am to myself.
How do you think you would change if you used that same voice that you use towards your friends on yourself during those moments of failure and mistakes?
I think it would be, incredible, because you're not going to talk to your friends the way that you talk to yourself sometimes. And I think that if you're constantly kind of reassuring yourself and letting yourself know that you are enough, then your thought process will change.
When you treat yourself like you do somebody else, you start feeling better, I think, right away, and you keep it in context much more instead of letting things be blown out of proportion.
I think I would have a lot less anxiety in my day-to-day. I think there would be kind of a weight lifted.
It would definitely make me feel better and happier, because when I usually say, when that voice that says mean stuff in my head, I usually am not really happy and sad.
Do you have a critical voice?
So I want you just to pause the video, actually, and just ask yourself, do you have a critical voice? What do you find it saying to you? And you might like to spend a few minutes just writing that down. So how do we treat ourselves, especially on a bad day when things aren't going so well? We're often more cruel to ourselves in the language we use than we would ever be to someone else. So why are we so self-critical? We believe we need our self-criticism to motivate ourselves. We often think that if we are too kind to ourselves, then we will be self-indulgent and lazy. However, this activates the threat system, not the drive system, so it doesn't motivate us. When you're in emotional pain, treat yourself with compassion, and treat yourself with the compassion you would expect from a truly good friend. This helps the drive and the soothing systems be in charge. Acts of compassion reduce cortisol and increase the feel-good chemicals in our bodies. They also activate mirror neurons in others. So it can be seen as a resource to balance the challenge of stress, depression, and anxiety. Self-compassion, it's a way of relating to ourselves kindly. It's not all praise and positivity. It's embracing ourselves as we are, flaws and all, treating ourselves with kindness as we would a good friend. Notice and accept, gives an option for different. Give ourselves a hug, or a hand massage. So compassion activates the vagus nerve, the soothing system. It helps maintain the balance in our brain. Kristin Neff sees self-compassion as having 3 components. Number 1 is self-kindness. So we probably wouldn't even say some of the things we say to ourselves to someone we don't like very much. Number 2 is common humanity, noticing the kindness in the world around us. And number 3 is mindfulness and awareness. So emotional vocabulary, accurately recognizing and naming emotions helps us to understand difficult situations and bounce back more quickly. Mindfulness is about being in a non-judgmental, receptive mind state that can help in observing thoughts and feelings as they are, without trying to suppress or deny them. And self-compassion, if we can recognize our self-criticism, we can give ourselves the compassion that we need. So Kristin Neff has found the power of self-compassion is not just an idea, it's very real and actually manifests in our bodies. So when we soothe our own pain, we're tapping into the soothing drive and triggering the release of oxytocin, promoting feelings of calm, okayness, and safety. It also promotes our generosity to ourselves and to others. And through the mirror neurons, it activates these sensations in those around us, especially our children. So recent research indicates that generating feelings of self-compassion actually decreases our cortisol levels. People who are compassionate to themselves are much less likely to be depressed, anxious, and stressed, and are much more likely to be happy, resilient, and optimistic about their future. So in short, they have better mental health. The safer people feel, the more open and flexible they can be in response to their environment. When we soothe our painful feelings with the healing balm of self-compassion, not only are we changing our mental and emotional experience, we're also changing our body chemistry. An effective aspect of self-compassion practice, therefore, is to tap into your body's self-healing system through physical sensations. This means that an easy way to calm and comfort yourself when you're feeling badly is through soothing touch. It seems a bit silly at first, but your body doesn't know that. It just responds to the physical gesture of warmth and care, just as a baby responds to being held in its mother's arms. Remember, physical touch releases oxytocin, reduces cortisol, and calms the cardiovascular stress. So why not try it? If you notice you're feeling tense, upset, or self-critical, try giving yourself a warm hug, or tenderly stroking your arms or your face, or gently rocking your body. What's important is that you make a clear gesture that conveys feelings of love, care, and tenderness. If other people are around, you can often fold your arms in a non-obvious way, gently squeezing yourself in a comforting manner. Notice how your body feels after receiving the hug. Does it feel warmer, softer, calmer? It's amazing how easy it is to tap into mammalian caregiving systems and change your biochemical experience. I would encourage you to give that a go. So take notice. Key strategy, noticing our thoughts gives us the choice. Are they helpful in this moment? Our behaviours, when we feel good as well, and the world around us. So any definition is just an approximation. We really need to experience mindfulness to be able to define it for ourselves. It's a bit like clapping your hands. How would you describe or define that? So mindfulness can promote curiosity. This is important for our children. It helps us be present rather than distracted. We can notice their cues and behaviour as much as our own. What do they need? What do you need? It can help to ask questions and avoid jumping to conclusions. I'm going to play a short video and take notice from the 5 ways to wellness.
Take notice. To take notice is to be present in the here and now. Pay attention to the world around you, nature, people, your thoughts and feelings. Be curious. Catch sight of the beautiful. Remark on the unusual. Notice the changing seasons. Savor the moment. Becoming more aware of the present moment and reflecting on your experiences will help you appreciate what matters to you.
So noticing and being aware, take notice. What does it do? How does it help? It gives us the ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. You've probably been absorbed, mindful lots of times without even noticing it. For example, when you're cooking, walking in nature, doing yoga, gardening, running, singing, listening to music. The key is that you're totally absorbed in the present moment. You're not focused on the past or the future. You're not judging. You're not chatting to yourself internally or externally. These moments rest the brain by reducing stimulation, narrowing focus. It slows us down. We're not designed for the constant, fast-paced modern life, although we have adapted to it. Mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, non-judgmentally. Our brains are not naturally mindful. So when we're not involved in tasks, our resting state is to scan our external and internal environment for threats and to link the past and the future. So we're checking for mistakes in our behaviour because we do not want to be socially excluded. We're mammals and therefore we depend on being part of a group to survive. So noticing helps us notice and connect with the moment of our children. So we support our children by helping us notice them. It reminds us to remember what we love about them. It brings us out of our heads, out of social media and the busy whirlwind that we find ourselves living in. So let's have a look at some ways to practice mindfulness. So the idea is to bring mindful attention to ordinary activities and just focus and observe. So notice and acknowledge, and you can do this with your children as well. So we've got some ideas here. There's the 7-11 breathing or 5-7. So you breathe in for the count of 7 And then you take a longer exhale for the count of 11. This activates our relaxation response. So you can take slow out breaths, so through a straw or hum. You can do body awareness, so move areas that are tense. You could choose a signal for you to take a mindful moment, such as watching the kettle boil. And you could just kind of build those in throughout your day. Look around you at something you like. Feel your feet connecting to the ground beneath you. Hold your hands, stroke your hair, but notice you're doing it as well. And ask your child to remind you to do it together. Doing it with your kids. Briefly shine the spotlight of attention on your breathing body by first taking a moment to observe yourself as you inhale and exhale a couple of breaths. So don't worry about changing your breathing in any way. The point is that you're simply noticing it. And then next, take a moment to scan your body to see where you're holding areas of tension. It's in your neck and shoulders, it's in your tummy. Is your breath is your breathing quite shallow? So if you are holding any areas of tension, try to send your next breath to that part of the body to release it. Allow your muscles to relax on your out breath. So you can do this by imagining the breath entering your body and traveling to the place of tension and then back out again as you exhale. And all of the above on the slide work by stimulating the parasympathetic system in your body, the rest and digest, the soothing system. So the longer the out breath, that decreases your blood pressure, dilates your pupils and slows your heart rate down, lowering your emotional arousal in the process. So practicing a breathing technique, actually practicing it when you feel good through a couple of times a day, will lower your overall stress levels in the long term. And the longer out breaths rebalance the CO2 and O2 levels in our body. Okay, so I would encourage you to practice some of these that are on the slide. So let's have a look at awareness. So this is a good one. It's called the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. And for when you notice stress, tension or worries. So you have a look around and at 5 things you can see and 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 deep breath in and slowly breathe out and just see how you're feeling. So these are mini meditations that you can do for you and your children, and on YouTube, Headspace have some mini meditations on there which are definitely worth looking at. So mindfulness and self-compassion are associated with more resilience and motivation, less depression, anxiety, stress and perfectionism, greater life satisfaction, taking greater self-responsibility and greater motivation, more connectedness with others, better interpersonal relationships, more empathy for and forgiveness of others, but also yourself. And self-compassion offers the benefits of self-esteem without the pitfalls. So here is a 1-minute meditation from Headspace. And if you're with a child, you could do this with them. So let's take a minute to breathe before we go on. With a nice inhale and an exhale.
Hi, and welcome to Headspace. So no matter what's going on in your life right now, no matter how many thoughts are racing around your mind, no matter how the body's feeling, just take a moment to sit down and take a big, deep breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. As you breathe in, a sense of taking in fresh air, the lungs expanding. As you breathe out, a sense of letting go of any stress in the body, in the mind, just feeling the muscles soften and relax. And close your eyes if you'd like to. One more, breathing deeply in through the nose and out through the mouth. And just take a moment to pause. Allow the thoughts to come and go. And then just gently opening the eyes again.
Okay, so that's just a short 1 minute that we could do throughout our day. So keep active. Okay, I'm going to watch a little video here on the 5 ways of well-being, of ways to keep active.
Be active. Look for ways to be active every day. Go for a walk or a run. Step outside. Stretch. Cycle. Play a game. Do some gardening. Dance. Most importantly, discover a physical activity you enjoy and that suits your level of mobility and fitness. Being active every day causes changes in our brain, which can positively affect our mood. Exercising makes you feel good.
So ways to keep active: stand up, sway, bounce, dance, smile, sing. Think about where you park. Could you park a little bit further away and walk? Could you use the lift? Or do you use the lift or do you use the stairs? What do you do at the park? So we can fall into the trap of thinking that activity is a separate event, that it has to be high intensity or sweat inducing. It's not true. So it's great for our babies and children too. So it isn't the case. Fitness is important. However, simple movements help our brains and well-being. So neuroscience has shown that the following are useful ways to reduce anxiety through movement, which is dancing and walking, especially if you're moving the opposite arms and legs. There's some links in the I'm not going to, well, actually I will put them on now. No, I'm not going to put them on now, but there are some links in the slides that we will send you to watch these. So there's something called hook up, and then there's also the kind of tapping of the opposite arms and legs. So repetition as well, it can be very soothing. So knitting, drumming, drawing figures of 8 or circles with each finger going in opposite directions. So as a summary of the strategies, I hope that we've covered why does adult well-being matter in the home? How does adult well-being impact on the children around us? What does adult well-being look like? And then tips and strategies to help us boost our well-being. So some of the strategies were self-compassion, taking notice, moving more, using pace, play, acceptance, empathy, and curiosity. So there's some on the back of the slides where to get further help. So that can be speaking with others, colleagues, family members, and sharing your concerns, your GP, self-referral. And then there's some online resources. So there's Mind, Wellbeing Action Plans you can download, Headspace, Education Support, MindEd, the Anna Freud Centre and Young Minds. So I hope you found this webinar useful and you picked up some hints and tips and strategies. Thank you very much for coming and for listening. Please do give us feedback with the link to the Survey Monkey that we have here, because that helps us know what to cover and support you further. Thank you very much. Please do get in touch if you've got any questions or answers. Thank you. Goodbye.